The latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. For more than 60 years, a quite foreign shadow hung heavily over the savannas and cities of Burkina Faso. We imported a system of justice from across the sea, forced our people to speak its language, and blindly expected it to stick together the wounds of our communities. But true justice cannot be found in a borrowed wig, a foreign tongue, or rigid textbook that does not know the soil it stands on. Today, on the front line of African sovereignty, that old world is cracking. The Burkinabe judicial system is undergoing a massive structural transformation. It is a calculated, deliberate break from the colonial legacy driven by the vision of Captain Ibrahim Traoré all in all. This is the birth of Faso Bukuri, a return to the ancestral roots, placing the scales of law back into the hands of the traditional and customary chiefs who have guided our peace since the dawn of time. In our villages, justice is not a distant, concrete building filled with expensive lawyers and endless delays. It is a living process. When a conflict breathes life into a community, it follows a sacred sequential path of reconciliation. A plaintiff does not simply march to the king to complain. First, the grievance is brought to the head of the family. If the family cannot heal the rift, it rises to the head of the village or the clan. If the knot remains tied, it moves up to the head of the canton. Every incremental step is designed to mine the social fabric before it shatters completely. You do not see the king without respecting the path. Consider the ancient wisdom used to settle the most bitter of human disputes, land. When two families claim the same earth, modern courts drag the case out for years, draining their pockets until both sides are ruined. But our traditional chiefs invoke a deeper truth. They place water inside a sacred calabash and present it to the disputing parties. They say, if this land is truly yours, drink. A man with deceit in his heart will refuse, knowing the spiritual weight of that water. The dispute ends there, judged by the conscience of the liar.
We cannot import a system of justice, apply it, and expect to achieve social cohesion. By integrating our ancestral values and involving key community figures in resolving certain conflicts, we believe we can create a reliable space for social cohesion.
The Burkinabe judicial system is undergoing a transformation. This change is a concrete manifestation of the vision of the president of Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, who is the guarantor of the independence of the judiciary. It is reflected in a justice system that is closer to the people and draws inspiration from the National Cultural Foundation. It is therefore a return to the roots, with the main actors being traditional and customary chiefs. I am not a traditional chief, I am a judicial chief. Let us let go and carefully list the capricious innocence regarding the nature of porridge, whether it be found in the depths of silence or the essence of denga. Aile Shak reveals to us our profound Hamele Strespi in a way that is unmistakable. And as I make you a strange face, I realize this joy would have no practical use for me because of the weight of institutionalization. This is precisely where I just told you that we, as a collective, must find our own path forward through the complexity of these structures. Really, the right thing, isn't that correct? So they can go to this place. There is not a place you go. There is no place you go and everybody else takes. They don't go to this place. So here, folks, I haven't seen many cases
of Yolam. Now there are many cases of Yolam in my village, especially in Canton or Denami City. All this happens with Gust's Prim Strawberry, and our crowd is really into cabbage at the party. Assembly, whoa! There you go. Everyone who hides them made a coco vin. That is precisely the reason why I made the conscious decision to travel full in a way and present myself here today. When I first heard about the circumstances unfolding, I realized that staying away was simply not an option if I wanted to see a positive resolution. I gathered my thoughts, prepared everything I did, set out to hear a specific part of the conversation, and contribute to the final outcome in a meaningful way for everyone involved. For example, it is typically the plaintiff who first brings their formal grievance to the head of the family. If the head of the family is unable to reach a satisfactory resolution, the matter then goes to the head of the village or the clan. If they also cannot find a suitable solution, they will go even higher to see the head of the canton. This process continues sequentially through each level of the traditional hierarchy. You simply do not go directly to see the king without following these steps. For example, if you look at it closely, it is really all about those small, incremental steps that keep going up and forward. For me personally, when I reflect on what truly matters, the most important thing of all is that people are finally able to wake up each morning with a sense of purpose and truly wake up to the beauty of life itself, embracing every single moment with a renewed spirit and a clear mind. For Makome at Eklapping, it's a lot of snow, and to Morales in Bichich, this snow is the Russian one that passes over his skin. The snow and its traumas and their iliazioni cause desinted cuts. The fluids therefore find orientoids that are stored at the University of St. Gall yesterday. She intervenes in Weichihang in Akanate sometimes. We have 3 possible Capesial 2004. We are from where you are from. I wouldn't have come today. I wouldn't have come here 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 today.
I wouldn't have come here today. I wouldn't have come here today. The families who are just barely managing to make ends meet often have children who are also just finding ways to survive day by day. They are consistently getting by through hard work. They are continually getting by despite the odds. They are simply getting by as best as they possibly can in these challenging times. I would like to take this opportunity to express my most sincere and heartfelt gratitude to you for everything that you have done for us today. Whenever there is hope, and we must remember that as long as there is hope, there is hope. In every moment where there is hope, and even when things are difficult, there is hope. We can say it again and again, there is hope, and there is always hope. The Yadga region here is traditionally divided into 4 distinct sections. There is a specific part for the Togonava, a part also for the Rassam, another for the Balum, and then also a section for the Wedranga, which is the group that I belong to. So, for example, if there are ever any serious conflicts or disagreements between the various communities in my municipality, they first come to provide a detailed explanation of exactly what is wrong. Then, in turn, I escort them into the presence of His Majesty so that each person can explain what is wrong between them and their neighbor. And now it is only after this thorough process that His Majesty delivers his final and binding judgment on the matter. We, the small organisms and the existing species, I represent the madness of the soil. I pollute them. Then He listens to my messages and themes to see if it eats or not among them in ours. I am not saying that it is not dirty. If He hears that everything has proceeded according to plan and can be replaced in, then we shall see.
English, like among the existing ones of the ethnic. So, it is important to note that the group of newly enrolled students, along with their father, who is currently engaged in a fierce battle against the pilot courier, are working hard toward establishing the organization known as UNIFI. However, those who are working together will simply not be able to find a way to convince his various friends from Ayel Bada. I have really been dedicated and working at it for a total of 6 long and challenging years. Every Thursday and Monday we have customary courts. The court is made up of several people, since it is the notables from the sectors who gather to discuss disputes. The plaintiff addresses us, comes and presents his problem. We give him a summons. He comes and we try to see how we can come to an understanding, at least with people who can go and conduct investigations.
With the law on the status of traditional chieftaincy having been adopted, it is now up to the chief to implement endogenous mechanisms for conflict management, to determine and apply traditional methods for resolving disputes in support of the modern judicial system. This mission finds its legitimacy in the Faso Bukhari adopted on January 14, 2026. Today, endogenous justice is a part of the judicial architecture. It represents a significant advancement in the endogenous judicial organization in Burkina Faso.
The system we wanted is an autonomous one. We did not want customary and traditional courts to be integrated into the judicial organization. This was done deliberately because if they were integrated into the judicial organization as we have it, the classical organization, there would be no innovation and we might miss the point. From the objective, which is to consider these courts within their context as they exist, at the same time as the adoption of this law, we conducted a survey, or rather 2 surveys. It emerged that social disputes in our country are resolved in about 95 to 96% of cases through recourse to these mechanisms.
Burkina society aspires to a justice system that is accessible, credible, unburdened, and firmly rooted in our values. The establishment of the new forum of the Superior Council of the Judiciary, the theme of androgynous justice, is of great importance to the independent guarantor of judicial power. This project, it must be acknowledged, carries hope because it seeks to transform not only the judicial institution, but also the relationship between citizens and justice. It can be seen as an institutional, cultural revolution beneficial to Burkina Faso, and one that could also inspire other nations in search of models of endogenous justice.
Faso Bukari had been long awaited by the dignitaries and customary chiefs. For them, it represents a rehabilitation of their role, a recognition of their authority, and above all, an appreciation of their relationship to peace and social cohesion. In the eyes of the Angers, the various dignitaries and chiefs are already hard at work to facilitate the understanding of this law, whose implementation is imminent.
This is a highly anticipated and significant official document that we have all been waiting for with great patience for a very long time. I must say that this document formally validates and reinforces the traditional authority of the chieftaincy, and it also allows the chieftaincy and all the citizens of our nation, moreover, to clearly see the strategic and visionary direction that our Honorable President has chosen to pursue in his comprehensive national policy.
We are truly delighted. It is because President Ibrahim Traoré has listened closely to our customs and traditions that he thought of bringing back the justice system before the Bukure. This will allow us to resolve problems between the people, between individuals, much more quickly. Because we know that modern law does this, but we often complain about delays. It is a process that naturally requires a significant amount of time and patience. And we also firmly believe that this approach will bring those individuals who are actively seeking true justice much closer to the actual justice system. Furthermore, it allows us to utilize our deeply rooted indigenous values and traditional wisdom to resolve our problems internally. This is significantly better compared to a rigid law, a so-called positive law, which originates from elsewhere and sometimes simply does not align or harmonize with our local cultural context. It has become increasingly clear to us through careful observation and deep reflection that we now fully understand the profound implications of the situation at hand, and we are beginning to grasp the true scale of everything that is currently unfolding before our eyes.
This Google counts a version, which is the most important collection in the territory in France, which currently supports its members and their families. I have traveled all this way today because I felt it was absolutely necessary to sit down and speak with you directly regarding the future and the overall well-being of my son's life. It is a matter of great importance to me, and I believe we need to have a very thorough and heartfelt conversation about everything he has been going through lately. I am here specifically to discuss the various aspects of my son's life, and to ensure that we are doing everything possible to support him in the best way we can as he moves forward into this next chapter of his journey. I would like to take a moment to express my deepest and most sincere gratitude for everything you have done. Your support has been absolutely invaluable to me, and I truly cannot thank you enough for the kindness, time, and effort you have invested. It is rare to find such dedication, and I want you to know how much I appreciate your help during this time. Thank you so much once again for your incredible generosity and for being there when it mattered most.
And if 2 villages clash over the borders of their field, the Windimba chief step in with an even greater lesson. They do not give the land to one side to spark a war. They take the land back completely. It becomes the property of the collective. The 2 warring villages are then forced to work that very soil together side by side, and the harvest is divided equally to feed the entire population. This is not just a verdict, it is a mandatory brotherhood. The data doesn't lie. Even before this new law was written, 95 to 96% of social disputes across Burkina Faso were already being quietly settled through these local indigenous mechanisms. Our people were running away from delays and expenses of Western law. This is how we were living as Africans long before this new modern whatever came in. So going back to our roots redefines us. We can never keep on saying we are looking for the African solution to the African problem, yet we are not ready to go back to our roots. We must go back to whatever that makes us a people. And these are the things Captain Ibrahim Traore is preaching, and he's acting on them. You go to China, you go to other places, they are holding on to their traditions. And in Africa, this was the best, You don't just get up that you are taking anybody to. You must start solving it. And we have ranks before it gets to the king. And they make sure you do the right thing. People came and saw the power of the African and told us that our way of doing things are not good. Because when they give you that water in the calabash, and you will say, not they will tell you, if you know this is not true, you dare not drink that water because you know the power that it has. And that was why some years back, one former president of Ghana, J.J. Rawlings, clearly stated that the reason to which we are having these politicians in Africa swearing with the Bible and the Quran, and they still go ahead doing something that they know is completely against what they have sworn, is because they know at the end of the day the Bible will do nothing. The Quran will do nothing. But if we ask them to swear by the African power, which is the instant justice, they know when they say A and act B, they receive that justice. That is why they don't want to have that. And until we bring these things back into our society, it will be very difficult to have the society that we are looking for. The best thing for the African is to go back to our root. And this is amazing. I just love the way our leaders in the Sahel are bringing us back home, giving power back to the people that deserve to have the power. Because at that time, we never saw this rift between people dragging each other, wasting money for years, dragging each other in court, coming here and there. When something is happening to you and you don't even have the money to hire a lawyer, it means that your case is. But in the African setting, we didn't have that. Everybody has a right to speak out, to defend himself with truth. You don't just go and lie. Solving issues were very easy. And that was why we could live happily among ourselves, not like what we are having today in the name of civilization. And the civilization is tearing the African apart, widening the gap, and uniting us is becoming a problem. So going back to our root with this justice system is the best thing we can ever have as Africans. And I think we really need to appreciate the leaders for taking us back home. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall. And united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we'll make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world in Africa, West Africa, and in Burkina Faso.